Hello there, guys, and welcome to Daily Updates. The ANC finds itself in the mud yet again. They decided to go into a GNU agreement with the DA and the IFP, much to the disapproval of the public, saying that by the ANC going into a GNU agreement with DA, it means they are abandoning the struggle, which they fought for, saying that they are emancipating the black people. Now, by going into that with the DA, it means that they forgot about the struggle which they fought for. Now, if you think that was bad enough, the next one will really shock you. A lot of people probably heard about the word Orania, but they do not know what Orania stands for or what it is all about. A quick check on the internet to find that out. It says Orania is an Afrikaner nationalist town in South Africa, founded by Afrikaners. It is located along the Orange River in the Karoo region of the Northern Cape province. The town is split into two halves by the R369 road and is 171 kilometers from Cape Town and approximately 680 kilometers from Pretoria. So basically, if I was to explain to someone who doesn't know much about South Africa, I would say Orania is more like Lesotho. But the difference is that Orania is only for Afrikaners. Black people cannot go to Orania and buy houses or even try and stay in Orania. They will not be allowed. It has its own currency. They have their own bank, petrol stations. They probably have everything. But the difference is that they are not being recognized. And by not being recognized, that is what they want to fight for. I'm saying they are much more like Lesotho because Lesotho is basically in South Africa. The same as Orania. It is in South Africa, but it wants to be independent. Remember that issue of Cape independence before the elections? We can basically call Orania the Cape independence because they want to be alone. They want to do everything for themselves. But now they decided that since the ANC did not win the Northern Cape over 50%, they are going to make sure that they go on the table with the ANC to discuss what is the way forward. They are led by the Freedom Front Plus, who's saying that the interest of the Oranian people must matter. By mattering, the Freedom Front Plus says, ANC, you got 49 in Northern Cape. You are a party that speaks more about GNU. So we want to form part of your negotiations, and even in the province, we want to join forces with you. But one thing we want you to do is that you must recognize Orania. The leadership of the Freedom Front Plus is currently in talks with the leadership of ANC in Northern Cape on the recognition and the protection of Orania, a town which has its own currency, its own bank, and they do everything literally for themselves, and you cannot find a black person in that town says to the ANC, we want protection and recognition as a town. They are doing that via the Freedom Front Plus, which is representing them, and now they have to go to the ANC and say that you are preaching GNU. For you to show that you are serious about GNU, we have our demands and we want you to recognize Orania. The ANC has started this whole GNU talk. They cannot backtrack now and say that we are not allowing Orania, we are not doing this. Their back is against the wall. I'm wondering, there are parties like Patriotic Alliance in the Northern Cape who did well. A lot of parties did well. But now the ANC is pinned against the wall by VF+. And one of the demands is that recognize, accept, and protect Orania. Fikile Mbalula was given the opportunity to explain the issue of VF+ and the protection and recognition of Orania, and he denied having any involvement, ANC ever thinking of protecting and recognizing Orania. You listen to that interview and also listen to the one of the leader of VF+, Mr. Groenewald, and you wonder, what is really going on here?
We refer to Orania. There is already a concluded agreement with the Northern Cape government, the provincial government, and part of that agreement is that the status of Orania will be confirmed again by the ANC.
The ANC has created a problem that is going to be hard to get out of. Everyone is looking to manipulate the ANC. They've been in power for 30 years. Now everyone wants a piece of that cake. The GNU was a disaster to begin with. ANC was in a position that it was difficult to go to a party and say, let us work together alone. Everyone was going to manipulate the ANC, and we are seeing it. We have seen it with the DA. We are seeing it with the Freedom Front Plus. Remember, MK Party and the EFF are on the opposition. And the ANC finds itself having to deal with parties that are going to demand a big chunk of the cake. If ANC says no to the cake, those parties will be pulling out. Now, for the ANC is to listen to them and agree with them because they cannot listen and disagree. Unfortunately, the people who have been complaining about the fact that ANC is selling us out, they might be right. Because it is no longer about you are selling out of just small problems. They are selling out on everything. The ANC is negotiating, but they are losing a lot. How do you go out to recognize something that when you look at it, it is divided? It is dividing South Africa as a whole. People want to go there and sit alone and not let anyone come into that community of theirs. But you want to go and recognize and accept that. I thought South Africa is one. It is the rainbow nation. But what the GNU is doing, we might never be able to undo what they are doing now. It is just the early stage. And the ANC finds itself, they are back against the wall. What is going to happen in the next 2 years when these parties demand a lot from the ANC and the ANC might not be able to make their own people happy? ANC stands to lose out of the GNU, and the 2029 elections, it is still early now, but the 2029 election will prove to the ANC that had you taken a different route, maybe the people would have trust in you. It is still early. It is still just less than a month since the elections were confirmed. But now, the ANC find itself even wishing that we were in 2023 and they could go and speak to Jacob Zuma about the fact that can we maybe make amends and try to find a solution in our matter. Maybe convince Jacob Zuma not to form MK Party so that they don't lose those votes that they have lost. It is too late for the ANC and parties are playing around the ANC. Now we are going to have a small party demanding a deputy president from the ANC. And the ANC might just offer that party the position of a deputy president because the ANC now is a wounded lion. As the ANC is busy being manipulated and robbed by other political parties, the MK Party is ready to go into parliament. They are ready to be sworn in and form part of parliament. Now, the most interesting part is that they have their chief whip, a new chief whip by the name of Judge Hlophe, who's familiar with the ANC. He was voted out in parliament. He's no longer a judge. He can no longer practice as a judge. Now, the former judge is now the member of parliament. That former judge is not just an ordinary member of parliament. He is a chief whip in the parliament of South Africa. It is going to be very interesting. Mkhwebane was kicked out. She became a member of the EFF, a member of parliament. Judge Hlophe has been kicked out. He is now the member of parliament and he's the chief whip. He's an important member of parliament by being the chief whip. Now the ANC sees itself going into parliament with the same people they kicked out. It is going to be very interesting because each and every day in parliament, the EFF, the MK Party are going to remind the ANC of how they sold out the country, of how they could have chosen MK and EFF to work together, but instead they went towards the route of having a GNU, which we can all agree, for that to work, it is going to be very interesting and very difficult. The president will probably by Sunday announce his cabinet, and that is a stress for him because he does not have to look at the ANC alone and pick. He has to go and look at all the parties that are forming the GNU and decide who do I give, who do I refuse. ANC is in trouble. 2029 is a long way. The ANC has to think about how do we make people trust us after agreeing to join the GNU? How do we regain the confidence of our people? And on the other side, MK Party and the EFF will be looking to capitalize on those mistakes of the ANC and saying that maybe the people of South Africa can feel sorry, can sympathize with the opposition and feel like in 2029, if we don't vote for ANC, then we can vote for MK or the EFF. At the end of the day, the winners in all this thing will be the DA, the EFF, and the MK, because regardless of how the GNU works, credit would probably given to the DA. If it fails, the party that is going to be pointed is the ANC to say that you are useless. They find themselves holding that history they have, that rich history of 30 years in governance. They find themselves holding to it and probably hoping that some miracle happens and they regain those votes that they have lost in 2024. We remain to see how it is going to work out when the president appoints his cabinet and how the road is going to be, because it is not going to be a smooth one like the pothole we've been experiencing in South Africa. For now, thank you for tuning into the channel, and until next time. Cheers.